listening to Flashpoint Radio, Rise and Shine, your morning boost of inspiration, news, and fun. With Mikey G, Lady Elise, and Coralie Karen, the unmistakable combination, synergized to navigate.
It's like we're running in circles, going around every day, getting stuck in the hurdles of yesterday. Don't you wanna go further, away from the fray? Let's not get stuck in our worries, we'll make our way. Won't you come outside where the sunflowers
welcome to the breakfast hour. It is an awesome day. It is a wonderful day. I got up and I was in my right mind. I knew my name. I know where I am. So I was quite aware of what's happening around me and my surroundings, and that is so much to be thankful for. Good morning, Mikey G. Good morning, listeners on YouTube and on Facebook. We have not forgotten you, and of course there are listeners on our web radio, www.flashpointmedia.ky. Good morning and welcome.
Well, of course, I add my quota of welcome as well. I want to say welcome to all our viewers and listeners as well, as Lady Elise would say. And of course, those who are listening to us on various platforms. And this morning, we are having a fully packed morning for you. So much to talk about. Of course, we get into our devotional. And when we come back, we'll, of course, bring to you a few thoughts and ideas that I think you would just like to hear about. And so, yeah, let's get into that one this morning. Of course, this segment is brought to you by M&M Construction for all your construction needs right here in the Grand Cayman Islands.
Looking to build your dream home or renovate your space? M&M Construction is the perfect place. We bring your vision to life with precision and quality craftsmanship. From design to construction, we guide you every step, ensuring seamless coordination and superior results. Our professional roof inspection and maintenance services will ensure that your roof is sturdy this hurricane season. So, if you are ready to start your construction journey, call us today at 345-927-7509. Build with confidence. Build with M&M Construction. 345-927-7509.
Good morning. This is day 24. O come, let us sing to the Lord. Do not harden your hearts, as in the rebellion. Psalm 95, verses 1 and 8. Worship and Obey, written by Herb Vander Lugt. Millions of Christians gather each weekend to worship God as their Creator and Redeemer. Whether formal and liturgical or casual and spontaneous, church services are occasions to declare God's worthiness and to give Him praise. But centuries of church history reveal how quickly worship can denigrate into empty ritualism. This occurs whenever God's people harden their hearts and fail to obey His word. The psalmist knew this to be true from Israel's experience. Under the leadership of Moses, they had been miraculously delivered from slavery in Egypt and had fervently praised the Lord. But almost immediately, they began to doubt God's goodness and trustworthiness. They complained bitterly and found fault with the Lord and his servant Moses. They ignored his instructions and their worship became hollow. This angered God and resulted in their wandering for 40 years in a desert they could have crossed in a short time. Most were not allowed to enter the promised land. Lord, fill us with wonder and gratitude for your marvelous salvation. Help us to give you the praise you deserve and enable us to be faithful in our love and obedience to you. Praise the Savior, you who know him. Who can tell how much we owe him? Gladly let us render to him all we are and have. Our quote this morning reads, "Our worship is right only when we are right with God." End quote.
Looking to build your dream home or renovate your space? M&N Construction is the perfect place. We bring your vision to life with precision and quality craftsmanship. From design to construction, we guide you every step, ensuring seamless coordination and superior results. Our professional roof inspection and maintenance services will ensure that your roof is sturdy this hurricane season. So, if you are ready to start your construction journey, call us today at 345-927-7509. Build with confidence. Build with M&M Construction. 345-927-7509.
Today is an extra special day. I know I keep saying every day is special, and certainly what makes today special is that just the simple fact that you are able to be a part of the breakfast hour this morning. Now, we have lots and lots to share with you, and we want to tell you so much how we appreciate that you have taken time out of your schedule to spend your day with us, or whatever time you are tuned in to this episode. We welcome you and we thank you for being here. Now, we have a few items we would like to share, a few videos, and let's have a discussion. Let's go.
Exists because we followed the wrong guy. In modern psychology, there were two major voices, Freud and Adler. Guess which one we built an entire industry around? In Freud's model, everything's about your childhood, your parents, your trauma. You're broken because of what happened to you, and healing means going back and reliving every moment. But Adler, he didn't ignore the past, but he said it's not the main thing. What really matters? Your beliefs, your goals, your sense of meaning. He believed healing came from taking responsibility, creating connection, and building purpose in the now. But we didn't follow Adler, we followed Freud. Because Freud's model made it easy to build an industry around therapy that keeps you talking year after year. It feels like healing, but nothing actually changes. You explain your patterns, you analyze your wounds, but you stay stuck. What we need is Adler's model. We need to reprogram your subconscious with forward-focused beliefs, not to stay stuck in the past. We built a tool to help you build the inner strength Adler talked about from the inside out. Click the link in our bio for access.
Well, that was something that you can probably consider a little bit, Lady Elise. I don't know about you, but I came across a clip and I was saying to myself, wow, just thinking about the whole thing, I've never heard about therapists more than in this time of my life. You need more therapists.
Day and age.
Everybody, young children. I remember a friend of mine. had one of her children going to a therapist. Guess what? She couldn't know what the therapist was saying to her child, and this child was now vulnerable, and the mother, who is a parent, can't share in the session, and the child is so secretive. I said, no, that's rubbish. I mean, right off the bat, I said that just not being able to have access to your children and somebody else does create a new element for me. And
it's a very interesting conversation.
It frightens the daylight out of me.
Yeah, very interesting conversation, Mikey G, when you think about how powerful the mind is. But of course, today is not all about us and our wonderful minds. Yes, it's about the general elections. Yes, we are diving into the issues that matter most as we count down to Cayman Islands general election on April 30. So a lot's happening, and of course we have representatives of the Caymanian Community Party, and they are joining us this morning, and they're going to share with us what they have planned for the Cayman Islands and the community at large.
Well, all right. So, of course, let's take one little break, and then when we come back, we'll have our guests join us right here on the Breakfast Hour, and we can have that conversation. I want to say welcome back to this morning's edition of the Breakfast Hour. Our guests are here. Elise, I'm going to take point on this one. I want to say good morning, ladies, our minister, and of course,
you'll get your formal introduction. Now, joining us today are the representatives from the Caymanian Community Party to share their vision for the next 18 to 24 months. Their manifesto tackles some major national priorities, and we're here to break it down. So I want to welcome you both to Flashpoint Media. We are happy that you have decided to join us today, and of course, welcome. Just share with us what you have to share with us. Tell us about the Caymanian Community Party.
Joanna, yeah.
Good morning, and thank you for having us on the show this morning. I want to say a special thank you to my colleague Sabrina for sharing her airtime with me, and hopefully we'll see some of the other representatives from our party. We're excited to talk about the Caymanian Community Party, a party that was recently formed, and a party that is certainly prioritizing putting the Caymanian people first. And we just have a few short days left before the election, so we are now out on the campaign trails talking a bit about our manifesto and our policy positions, and it's been a really exciting time.
Okay, so for our listeners and our viewers who are not familiar with the members of the team, just speak to us about the leadership and the different representatives and the areas that they will be representing.
Sabrina, you want to go for that one?
Sure, no problem. Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be on Flashpoint Media. Thank you for the invitation. Let me tell you, it's always good to be home, and you know that's my opening statement. As the incumbent candidate for Prospect, it is a pleasure to have been given that noble opportunity to serve them back in 2021, and I'm revved up and ready to continue to represent them come April 30th when I'm voted back into political office along with my TCCP family. The TCC party, as Ms. Cathy of West Bay Central represents, is led by our leader, Mr. Andre Ebanks, who's from West Bay South. And we also have Emily Duku of Georgetown East. We have Miss Natasha Whitelock in Red Bay, as I said myself here in Prospect. We have Mr. Wayne and Miss Heather in Savannah Newlands. we have Boddentown West, Mr. Chris Saunders, and Boddentown East, Mr. Robert Bodden. We have Mr. Anthony Ramoon, Georgetown Central, who we're supposed to be joining us here momentarily as well. So we have a slate of 10 candidates, and we have 90 days pretty much that we put this party together, and we've come from the foundation of hope, trust, faith, and definitely putting the people first. This is not cliche. Our document, our manifesto, which is pretty much our commitment to the people of the Cayman Islands, and that is inclusive of everyone, is definitely not just a glossy piece of paper that, you know, we just put because it's topical now and it's political season. We have a real plan with reachable solutions, but we have to be realistic as well in our deliverables, and that will only take the investment, the buy-in, and collective collaboration with each of you, and thank you all for giving us this outlet, and the civil servants as well, in order to make a huge difference in the lives of everyone who's living amongst us here in the Cayman Islands. We have 10 broad outcomes definitely that we're looking at addressing, and that is again the foundation of who we are, by putting Caymanians and residents first, tackling the cost of living, and we have solutions in regards to that by addressing, you know, transitioning to liquid nitrogen gas, that sort of stuff, and to lower the cost of utilities, looking at options for at least to own options, looking at a way of getting people into houses, and there are a plethora of different things. So you would see, and for me, coming with the medical background and coming as a former Minister of Home Affairs, national security is definitely on the top. That is just like public health from the medical standpoint. When you look at the threats that are amongst us, building collaboration with the regional partners, for making us a jurisdiction of sustainability. But I see my colleague and my friend from Georgetown Central, Mr. Anthony Ramoon, has just joined us. Welcome.
Well, I want to say good morning to you, sir, and of course to our listeners and viewers this morning. And you know, when I looked, Minister Turner, I looked at the outline of your manifesto of cost of living, immigration, education, health, housing, and of course insurance, the economy, national security, Cayman health and care, and of course good governance. I mean, these are the listing of at least 10 items that I look at your manifesto. I went through and did take a brief look at it, and to, you know, just highlight a few things. As we spoke a while ago about the electricity, in terms of utilizing, and I looked in the manifesto, seeing where you want to utilize the landfill area for creating a solar farm that can also harness energy for the Cayman Islands, and of course better benefit the country, instead of us having it as a wasteland. And I looked at it and I said, you know, we have so much sun in Cayman, and you know, we have been, you know, I think we have been a tad bit behind there. And so I think you coming forward and actually placing it on the manifesto and on the insight of everyone to see, brings us closer to where we can see more affordable energy, because in terms of prices rising and cost of living, I think energy is one of the biggest attack on that factor. So with that, I would just leave the door open for you to comment on that.
Ms. Kathy?
Yes.
You're muted. You're muted.
And while we're getting ready for Kathy to become unmuted, of course, we want to say welcome to our viewers on Facebook and on YouTube, and those listening via our web radio, that's www.flashpointmedia.ky. And of course, they have asked for the candidates here to formally introduce themselves, so they want to know who you are as well before you answer that question.
Sure. As I said earlier on, Kathy, we're still not hearing you. My name is Sabrina Turner, and I am the incumbent candidate for the electoral district of Prospect.
Yes, good morning, listening audience. Anthony Ramon, the candidate for Georgetown Central. Good morning.
And Kathy, who will return, you can introduce her as well until she is able to be seen and heard.
Sure. And who's also joining us is Miss Kathy. Are you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes,
we
we
can.
can.
Oh, good. Okay. Good morning again. So I'm Catherine Ebanks Wilkes. I am the candidate for the constituency of West Bay Central. And I just want to say, I know that my colleague Sabrina had mentioned all of our candidates for the party. Just want to mention Bodden Town West, Mr. Ozzy Bodden. So he also is one of the candidates for our party. Now, in relation to the cost of fuel or energy that you were speaking about, yes, one of the things that our party has committed to doing is to trying to bring down what we see as one of the biggest driving forces of the cost of electricity, which is fuel. And the energy policy that was passed right before, what was that, around October, Sabrina? Maybe around in the middle of last year, through the Ministry of Sustainability, that has been implemented to ensure that we are being efficient and again trying to bring down costs, but also to protect the environment. And one of the things that the energy policy considers is the interim measure of utilizing LNG with CUC in order for them to bring down their cost while we transition to renewables. And we see this across the world. The US did this, where a lot of the electricity companies transitioned from fuel to transitional fuels, and now we're seeing a lot of the different jurisdictions going more towards renewable energy, which is most cost effective.
Renewable
So that
energy,
is,
sorry.
that's okay.
Renewable energy is something that is something that was always on my mind for many years, and just thinking about it, what would be the application then for homeowners who wants to actually install their own solar energy or other forms of renewable energy capabilities for their homes? Is there a plan to say sponsor or fund, find an easy way to fund these projects, maybe through incremental payments back for loans or stuff like that, for persons to actually acquire these equipment to power their homes individually and privately? And how would that interact with the government idea if, when you become government? Should I just speak it like that? when you become
Yes.
when you become government,
Get into the
you how will that interact? How will that be presented to the population at that time?
Well, if I can just chime in quickly and say that I think one of what I'm noticing, and I'm sure a lot of the residents and other candidates are noticing, is that there's a lot of promises being made by candidates. So we want to be realistic, and we don't want to overpromise and under-deliver. We do see where access to renewable energy is not really attainable by the average citizen. So certainly the government will have to find some sort of program, whether that is whether that looks like government subsidizing some of the cost, certainly something to encourage homeowners to transition to renewables. But again, we want to make sure that, when we take office, we have a budget that we can really, work with. But these are priorities to ensure that the cost of living is addressed, which, programs such as encouraging homeowners the right to renewables would be the way to go. But again, the interim measure, which wouldn't really put a burden on the homeowners, would be to facilitate CUC with utilizing the interim LNG, which would automatically bring down the cost of fuel very quickly. And then perhaps looking at some locations where we can do some solar farms. Of course, as a former minister for sustainability or the environment, I would like to see every single rooftop on a lot of these large buildings, government administration building, hospitals, schools. That's where I would like to see these large solar panels be in place before we start looking at utilizing land. But that is the approach that would be taken. And yes, I think everybody on the Caymanian Community Party is hopeful that we can roll out some incentive programs through the government to make, affordable and also renewable energy accessible to the average citizen.
It's definitely going to take a multi-government agency approach, private-public partnership, involve stakeholders such as the banks and all of that sort of stuff in order to make this happen. Because one of the other elements that this party is looking at is making homes more energy efficient. That could be simply where installation is concerned, and in our administration, we've made it more feasible for the importation on duty being restricted or lowered if it was not duty free at one point for the spray and foam insulation. And this is going to take a lot of hands at the table, a lot of ideas, but also OFRAG is not shying away from this because of their overall remit in the Cayman Islands. What we're saying is that we are actually ready. We've identified some of the issues, and we are best right now positioned in what solutions and how to address them in our document, the manifesto, to say that, look, we know that they're there. How do we put all of these minds together to benefit everyone, to say we're really making a difference in the lowering of the cost of living here? That also includes immigration as well. So from the supermarket straight down, will benefit by the public-private partnership and various government agencies and private sectors. There's going to have to be a collaboration. This is not just a government initiative. This is going to require everybody's input and cooperation to yield the results that we all so desperately need.
So true. So I'm glad you touched on that other topic, another hot topic, immigration and workforce development. Now, Caymanians want to feel secure and supported in their very own country. How will you strike the right balance between opportunity and protection for the locals?
Again, that comes from a collaboration of being data driven. I know a lot of people say that's just kicking the can down the road. We cannot just make these decisions to say, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. We're all here in this country. We have our skill sets that are lacking. We have to start and include education into this and make sure that the legislation that is already in place is actually being upheld. When you look at immigration reform, we don't want to have a piece of document that creates divisiveness. We want it to be fair, balanced, and to know that our indigenous Caymanians who have gotten it just by being here for a length of time, who have been a part of our society, feel inclusive. And that is a delicate balance, and we have to make sure that we do this immigration reform that is definitely needed, but do it from an informed perspective where we're not creating a divisive community, and it embraces everyone, definitely putting Caymanians first, of course, but doing it with grace and with dignity and not insulting those who have made Cayman their home and who have embraced our culture and who we are as a people.
But we see immigration as one of the biggest, as you said, Minister Turner, like kicking the can down the road. It's one of the biggest topics on the list of things to do when it comes on to politics. And when you hear political promises are being made, they are always around the factor of immigration. Here we have one part of the policy, your manifesto, stating that the part of what you will be doing is to reform the idea of government or civil service workers grandfathering some persons in based on, I don't know how that would work, but I guess you would tell us how that would be implemented in terms of grandfathering somebody in by length of time spent, how that work for someone working in the civil service, being there for a while, or even being employed to civil service government.
Again, having sat at the table along with my colleague as a cabinet minister, this is definitely something that was pushed and supported by ourselves as former cabinet ministers, and the civil servants went away to do the necessary research to see the impacts and how it would be rolled out based on the requests and the marching orders of the cabinet of the day. That is where we fell short now, because you have to do understanding the impacts, as you rightfully say. Would there be a grandfather's clause? Understanding. Look at our education. Look at our healthcare industry. Look at even our uniform services at the prison. And we look at then even our farmers. We look at our caretakers. This is not something you just rightfully say, this is what we're going to do now, coming from an uninformed perspective, because it can have long-standing implications on if we get it wrong. So this is something that we know has already begun, which is why it's very topical now. But the pace in which you implement it, if it's coming from an informed perspective, you can have some serious consequences and nobody wins. So I would say, if my colleague agrees with me, that has already started. Now, where it has gotten in regards to implementing the rollover policy, even with civil service, that was unanimously supported. However, you have to look at the pros and cons and how that's going to be rolled out. And as you rightfully say, is there a grandfather clause? Because this is far reaching and could have long-term implications if not done properly.
And just to add to what Sabrina was discussing, rolling it out properly is going to be critical. But it also, what we discovered in these conversations is that in the absence of doing this, there's certain government agencies where there really isn't a strong drive to put a development plan in place for Caymanians.
Succession planning. Mm-hmm.
Yes, succession planning. Thank you. And again, this is where we need to do a bit of more work before rolling it out, because there are going to be areas where you have technical staff that we don't really have anybody available locally right now to step into the gap. And that's where we need to continue to look into seeing how we roll that out. But I think the important factor is going back to the root of the issue, which is ensuring that we start from the educational level, and making sure that our students, when they come out of school, they have placement to go somewhere, whether in civil service or in private sector. And that is where I know we've been looking a lot about ensuring that we're sharing information throughout the different ministries, and although we have data protection, making sure that we have some sort of provision in place so that our students have access to job opportunities.
Mr. Anthony?
So, yeah, just to add to that, I mean, it's just beyond about job placement. It's about also targeting middle management and upper management positions, because we have a lot of Caymanians that are making significant investment in their education. So it's not just, like I said, just about filling these positions, but striving where Caymanians can be in position to make, I would say, changing direction, decisions as we move forward in this country. Yes, we definitely have to look about, immigration reform, the balance of the workforce, how we can sustain that over time. And we also have to start up from a very, very early age in terms of the culture or mindset and how we're going to move forward. Education for purpose, fit for purpose, dissecting the different industry, the jobs that we currently have. So it's not just also about volume. You also have to look at the quality, like I said, specific areas to concentrate on.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm listening to the conversation in relation to being employed. I want to just start to branch a little bit into entrepreneurship and how that will be facilitated under this new regime and targeted. I think that's where I'd like to take the conversation a little bit and ask what that will look like in the new Cayman Islands government.
Just to start it off, I know Ms. Turner can expand further, but but for me, this is something that we have to encourage even more because right now we have a shrinking working class,
Yes.
and a lot of our Caymanian, I would say, entrepreneurship do not have that support, and it doesn't necessarily mean always financial support. It's about giving a framework how to survive in this growing competitive environment that we currently have here, because we're not just competing locally or within the region. This is global. So, and also to consider the fact that we have millions of billionaires living here and can create these type of businesses at their fingertips. Whereas now, what can we do for those local entrepreneurs? Again, whether it's workshop, financial planning, budgeting, concessions, for one, that where we should be concentrating to giving our local entrepreneurs rather than the large conglomerates and all of these corporations that are here. So that is a starting point. So but again, it's not just about the talk. We got to walk the walk and make it happen. Because how we determine the strength of our economy is about our working class and our entrepreneurs. Those are where we can grow and also advance forward.
As I listen to the conversation, I hear partnership with the local industries that would probably facilitate this funding to actually make this a reality for the Cayman Islands. That's where my mind goes. And so I think by just saying that, that's where my mind is. But I want to touch. Sorry, go ahead.
We have to create a more of inviting environment where we actually create like a magnet for innovation.
Yes.
And then be able to have building blocks where we can assist them in making that innovation a reality, see where they're placed, have experts, almost like a concierge type stuff to play into what Anthony alluded to. Funding, how do you get the business off the ground? How do you even sure if that's where you want to go? Because once you start that investment, that's your sweat, your tears. It has to fruition. But we have lacked creating that space that for innovation and embracing technology, because that's where we're going. And then again, it goes back to private-public partnership. But we got to first identify we lack that space to be a magnet for innovation, because we have a lot of very smart, willing young adults and adults, mature adults, who have the innovation, who have the idea, but just don't have the start. And that is something that we can all look forward and look towards actually making that a reality, to make it more inviting.
Companies that, well, in this one, I think that there must be a place where there is indeed a support system, financial support system that will encourage this ability to take place.
Small Business Association, we know, have been there. I have been a part of that, haven't been a small business owner for quite some time. And I learned as I went along, but of course the market, the industry has become more, I would almost say, aggressive. And it's the first to get out there. But you need to have that network of support, as you rightly said. But also to not discourage those who are also aspiring to be self-employed and create employment for others, and we keep building from there on.
We are looking at. Sorry, ladies, you were saying.
No, I was just saying that certainly as I look on the various issues that you plan to tackle in the next 18 to 24 months, cost of living, infrastructure, building and environment, immigration and workforce development, the economy, education, youth and sports, national security and community safety, housing, Caymanian heritage and culture, health and wellness and good governance. And I ask this question, health and wellness have taken center stage in the most recent years. What's your party's approach to improving healthcare and mental well-being?
Definitely. Well, definitely, mental health has actually just blown up. People are more comfortable actually having the conversation since the pandemic. And we're definitely looking at expounding access to quality and affordable health care. You know that under my leadership, I got passed in the House of Parliament the Pharmacy Act that was outdated from 1979. That is still there waiting to be implemented right now in the Ministry of Health. The cry of being able to access affordable health insurance, but also health insurance that meets the needs of all who, even from the basic plan. And that too has been out for public consultation in order to be able to hold those businesses in the health insurance industry accountable for even those who wanting to leave the system that was absent before, access to more affordable medication, that's a separate bucket. So it isn't mixed into the wellness where we're trying to get more to a preventative care. But also we notice right now the acute mental health care is on a rise, and we do not have the necessary or sufficient infrastructure in order to deal with that at our HSA services. Understanding the Ponciana is there. That is a phase before reintegration back into society. But what we see we're lacking in that is dealing with preteen, adolescent mental health, having their separate place. We're going to continue to build on the Alex Panton Foundation, again, private-public partnership right there in addressing the teen issues, using forums like this, getting our churches involved, our youth involved in playing this part, in just being able to speak with families, single unit families as a whole, make it comfortable and have those resources there that are available 24 hours a day to bring it a reality. But going back to the infrastructure that is so badly needed, in opening of Ponciana, we realized that acute mental health is one thing. Then you need something like a general ward, so you're not in ICU style. You're also mending, you're not critical, but not well enough to go home. And then you need that interim type of care and facility before going to a Ponciana and then reintegration back in society. This has all made its head into a reality in the past 2 years, to be honest. And we've had a facility building for over a decade. So again, because it was almost taboo, spoken about almost in silos, now that we have a facility, we're realizing that it doesn't even meet the needs of persons with mental health issues that have to be incarcerated. So that's a whole different element that we're talking about, but it isn't going away. The good thing is the conversation has started. We have the basic building blocks to know where we need to go. Let's just make it happen.
Wow.
Okay. Just to add there a little bit, in terms of, yes, mental health, but in terms of overall well-being, you have to, we go back to the fundamental issues that we're trying to address here, is also the quality of life. Life for many have become more stressful. As you know, stress leads to a lot of disease or mental health issues, concerns, all of those things. So cost of living, are you going to pay your debts? You don't have a job, all of those things. So, and quality of time with your family. So everything is pretty much interrelated. And again, these are things that where we can address and resolve as quickly as possible. This can mitigate a lot of these other things that we are now looking at. Talking about the dependency on pharmaceuticals, because when you look at side effects of some of these issues that you're trying to deal with, symptoms, it's appears to be more detrimental than what you're actually trying to deal with. So again, we have to look at the flip side of things and the overall balance of everything.
And this is why it's important that we started the work of the separation of public health, so we can get our public health nurses back definitely out on the field so that we can catch issues long before they become at a critical stage. And that was why it was important to actually get the work started on the separation of public health from how it's situated right now, and have an independent piece of legislation for public health and have that as a standalone department, which is so grossly needed and was highlighted in our fight to come out of COVID.
And also, just to chime in lastly, another thing that our party has committed to doing is focusing on wellness.
Correct.
And trying to ensure that we are catching some of these degenerative diseases at a very early stage. So to go back to Anthony's point, you're not having to rely on medication that might fix one thing and damage something else. So take diabetes, for example. If we are doing more screening and making it more available, then an individual can detect if they are borderline diabetic, and then they're getting into nutritional counseling. And so this is something that our party is certainly going to try to make more attainable for the average citizen, so that we can get back to that the data that you did at your STEP survey, to ensure that we are trying to remove, or not remove, I mean, it would be great if we could remove it, but reduce obesity and, start to address the diabetes that we are seeing that's becoming very prevalent in our islands.
Which again, the National Health Survey also, the National Strategic Health Strategic Policy is also key for that as well. That is like the commandments, the 10 commandments of how this jurisdiction, what is expected, and it's reciprocal of the jurisdiction and all the stakeholders in healthcare. That too has been started as public consultation. And this is why we can honestly say, your vote for TCCP come April 30th, we can genuinely, wholeheartedly say, we can hit the pavement running. Because the marching orders for the civil servant, called the strategic policy statement, that is still in effect for the civil servants, is good until the 31st of December this year. And you've had the TCCP, majority of our candidates, who knows what is in that. And with the minor tweaks and that sort of stuff and how we change the reign, it would be very little disruption to the civil servants as it is. Come the 30th and you vote TCCP on your ballot.
You have less than 1 week to go, and you have so much to share. And certainly we had a look at all the activities that you will be embarking. So I want you to just speak to the viewers and listeners and those who are able to make these events, starting with the West Bay Central Public Meeting.
Yes, so thank you for that. The West Bay Central Public Meeting will be this Saturday evening at the West Bay Heritage Park at 7 p.m. And that will be with myself and our party leader, who is West Bay South candidate, Andre E. Banks.
And our big TCCP rally will be taking place on Monday at Compass Green. That's right there in between the Compass Center and Kirk Office Equipment. That's Monday, kicking off at 7. And the Prospect Rally, I know Mr. Anthony from Georgetown Central, you have your meeting? You're muted.
My apologies, I got excited there for a minute. We're going to have a meeting on the 26th on I call it the Tropical Green at the Junction of Tropical Garden. That's going to be Saturday the 26th. But I'm looking to have a grand final on the actual 29th. So our venue to be disclosed in due time.
Okay. Well, my final rally will be the 29th. That is a Tuesday at the 33 Marina Drive, right here, Prospect. And that has been the constituency office from 2001, actually from November of 2020. So yeah, we're, and in between all of this, as an incumbent along with Miss Kathy, we still manned our constituency office. We still have to show up at work, still have to deal with constituency issues, even though we're no longer cabinet ministers and we're reverted as incumbent candidates vying to be re-elected. We still are looked at as the representatives of our electoral district. So that doesn't go away. And then we're still on the ground canvassing, going door to door. And definitely for those persons who haven't seen me yet in the constituency of Prospect, I'm on the road. I'm coming door to door personally, I want to do this. And I know I've gotten some emails that I will be responding to, and definitely giving them a one-on-one opportunity to come and meet me. So yes, this final stretch is definitely heating up, and our presence in person is definitely becoming more demanding and challenging, especially for the incumbents. Now, Mr. Anthony is new to the scene, and I'm quite sure it's no different for him.
Yes, I'm hitting the road hard. I would say the pavements, the gravels, everything. And basically, I have a meeting tonight down in Palmdale. That's 52 Palmdale, and also Friday night down in Alamo Drive. So it's between meetings, canvassing door to door as much as possible. I know Caymanians like that personal touch.
Yeah.
But if I don't get to you or see you, due to the fact that some people are working, but I've made every effort to get out there. And I can be reached at 324-6014 also too, just to put that out there.
Okay. And of course, we have a viewer who asked a question. Speaking about disease prevention, exercise is the best predictor of health.
Yes.
Will this government build more community parks where if it is safe for persons to walk, or even make walk path on the road where persons can walk safely?
Yes, that is, I would say my forte, but it's something that I'm looking to strive and push in terms of more community space, social space also too. Again, because I would say we appear to be living more in a city rather than an island at this point in time, given the amount of structure and infrastructure. So more open space, greenery, not only just for the children, but definitely for the children, safe spaces within our communities, and also for the elderly, and also bringing programs to these communities, where saying it can be on the weekends, it could be classes, stretching classes for the elderly, so it's about, again, changing the culture, the mindset. We had yards before, front yard, backyards, trees where children could climb, look about their motor skills. So these are things that we need to revitalize and introduce into our community. So again, communities, civic centers, community centers within town itself, which we have been deprived for years upon years. Yes, we have this Citrus Grand Park, which I looking to ensure that they have all the necessary programs and the facilities are properly and effectively utilized. And again, we have Georgetown Central, have Tropical Gardens on Cool Road, all of those things. Looking at each areas of those pockets where we can introduce or create these social areas, park and safe space.
And I'd like to just piggyback on what Anthony is saying, because I agree wholeheartedly. We definitely need to, utilize and capitalize on the spaces that are identified that can be used. What I also would like to do is to see our party committing to leading by example and trying to get the movement going on being healthier. I know certainly since taking on this role as an MP, it has become a bit more challenging to do my daily exercise, to eat healthy. And I think that it would be a good national movement if we start from the very top by leading by example and getting a movement where we are being more conscious as a community, maybe doing more walk and talks as MPs, finding ways to connect with our constituents that will still encourage, I was trying to find the right word, encourage, more physical activity. So, but certainly we need to identify spaces. Anthony, he has some there in his area already that he's been an advocate for. But certainly just making sure that our communities are not just seeing the spaces, but they have some sort of incentive to come out and utilize them.
And also, if you notice, the old Mariners Cove site along Spot Strait, that land has been secured for a wellness park. And that includes a zen area, nice walking paths. We know the ocean views right there of spots, and it'll have a nice area for persons to just come and exhale. You know the park right there on Prospect Drive already, the Eddie Sanchez Park that borders Victory Avenue. That also has pool, a walking path, and gazebos and stuff. So we're well on our way. It's just working again, taking the charge, and be, as Miss Kathy and Anthony both alluded to, starting it from the top where we are example setters. I always said since 2021, I'm a solid woman. I'm going to give it. But I always made a promise to myself that I wouldn't end this administration bigger than I came in. And glory be to God, I have lost 12 pounds.
We talked about mental health, and we are on our way out, and I think we have passed our time a long time now, but as we are on our way out, here is where it is driving everyone crazy, is high rent. Cost of living in terms of renting and all of that. It's impossible for a Caymanian to go to work, and when you finish working, the salary is to pay the actual rent for the property. As we leave this morning's program, final words on this, and each person can take a bit of that as we
Kathy, go with it.
Yeah.
Finish this morning.
So that one actually would be resolved by implementing the residentials and tenancy bill, which both Sabrina and I worked a lot on in this this current term, but it just never did make it to the floor of Parliament. And so that's one of the things that we would be advocating for as a party, is to ensure that legislation is passed, which would afford both landlords and tenants protections, including rent control. In addition to that, we need to certainly revisit where the consumer protection bill is at and try to get that up and going, because again, these are the things that will prevent price gouging and ensure that there's some level of control, not just in rent, but if we implement that consumer protection legislation, that's across the board in any sort of it'll protect consumers, in various industries.
Yes, sir. I just want to thank you all. I know that we have gone over, and thank you so graciously hosting us this morning. Thank you for the invite. Thank you for my colleagues joining me. And I hope that, just with this, you call it almost speed dating, getting to know us a little bit more, hear more about our party's manifesto. We encourage you to log on to our website, votetccp.ky. Follow us on our individual Facebook page to know more about what is upcoming and taking us forward. And I said right now to my people when I'm canvassing, it's all in the mercies of God right now, hands and the voters. So again, it has been a pleasure having joined you all this morning, and to meet your audience and to speak very candidly to them. Honesty and integrity is our foundation, and definitely this is only possible come April 30th, which is in the next couple of days, voting at the polls for persons that have those key fundamentals to them. And definitely is not cliche that we are really of service to the people, and that's your TCCP candidates.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Of course, for our viewers and our listeners this morning, it has been a wonderful morning spent here with our upcoming government, parliamentarians, and of course,
thank you all so very much appreciated. Thank you all very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. God bless.
All right. It has been an increasing, amazing morning this morning right here on Flashpoint. I want to say, Lady Elise, just having a conversation, and talking about the different aspects of the community, brings us to a sobering thought, that there are people who actually think about the people and how it can, what is happening.
Yes, and it is also
we can benefit, and how they can benefit from the infrastructure or just governance overall. And so this morning's experience, is one that I really take with pride and thankful for having it this morning.
Yes, and so at this point, I really want to register my thank you for the members of the TCCP who took time out to share with the community, to share with our audience what they're all about. And just want to remind the listeners, it's not about taking sides, it's about staying informed and making the right choice for the future. And Flashpoint, of course, would have extended invitation to all the candidates from different parties to join us on the platform and speak to what is going to be happening in the next couple of days to the run up of the general election right here in the Cayman Islands. It's time for us to get out of studio, but we have a few just community events, one of which will be happening on the date, April 30, that we will share with you at this time. Happening Wednesday, April 30. Let's start that from the beginning. Looking for great food, great deals, and a great cause? Then don't miss the car boot sale and fish fry hosted by the Ebenezer Seventh day Adventist Church, happening Wednesday, April 30 from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the airport park. Enjoy mouth-watering fish and other tasty treats, plus browse a wide range of household items, clothes, books, and more, all at unbeatable prices. Best of all, every purchase supports the Manna Foundation, bringing hope and help to those in need. That's Wednesday, April 30 from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the airport park. Come early, bring a friend, and be a blessing while you shop and eat. Join us, the Ebenezer Seventh day Adventist Church, where faith meets community.
I want to thank you this morning for being with us this morning, everyone. Our listeners and viewers, those who are joining us on Facebook, YouTube, and all our other social media platforms, or web radio, www.flashpointmedia.ky. Every single day, of course, continue to enjoy our radio, enjoy our program and programming. Of course, go back and watch some of our previous videos, and of course, some of our exciting episodes of some of our shows. Now, today, Lady Elise, take us out of studio.
I want to thank you so much. I want to register my appreciation once more for all those who have joined us this morning. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, keep your mornings lit. Continue to join us here on Flashpoint. We are present, practical, and on point.
Remember, tomorrow is All Family Day, alright? So, catch us for family time tomorrow, no? And of course, let's talk about the family and see how best we can make family better within the Cayman Islands and the rest of the world. Have yourself a great day, guys. Great morning so far. God bless.
Scott, and you're listening to Flashpoint Radio. Rise and shine. Your morning boost of inspiration, news, and fun. With Mikey G, Lady Elise, and Coralie Karen, the unmistakable combination, synergized to navigate.
It's like we're running in circles, going around every day, getting stuck in the hurdles of yesterday. Don't you wanna go further? if I'm afraid.
There are two things I do know right now. One, you're listening to Flashpoint Radio. Number two, you ain't gonna keep it to yourself. Flashpoint Radio. Internet comes alive.